This short film is about community sentence treatment requirements known as CSTRs. We will show you how a multi-agency approach to delivering CSTRs in Sefton has been successful. We will take you, the viewer, on a journey from arrest to sentence and beyond.
For 18 months I'd been in a domestic violent relationship with my partner. I do have mental health issues, depression, anxiety, drug issues.
If we're serious about reducing reoffending, then we have to listen to people's stories. We have to listen to their experiences.
I don't really remember a lot of things that happened on the day, but I somehow ended up walking down Stanley Road just in a pair of boxies and socks and nothing else. Ended up getting stopped by a lady who was obviously concerned about me and things, and she'd phoned for an ambulance, and then an ambulance had turned up with police assistance. The police were restraining me and were pinning me down, which they should have done because I was out of hand. But then I was also still trying to fight them, and I ended up biting a police officer.
CSTRs are added to a community order made at court by a judge or a magistrate. We will be looking at alcohol treatment requirements, known as ATRs, drug treatment requirements, known as DRRs, and talking about our experience at Sefton Magistrates Court with mental health treatment requirements, known as MHTRs.
Now, there are some occasions when people can come into custody after being arrested for committing a criminal offence who may be mentally unwell. So the first time that they actually are able to get help is when they come into a custody suite.
Our aim is to see everybody who comes into custody and to offer them a vulnerability assessment. We look at all vulnerabilities, not just mental health. That could be learning disabilities, addictions, homelessness, and try and find the most positive outcome for our service users.
I'm 35, I've gone all this time, I've never hit anyone, assaulted anyone, and it shocked me and mortified me that I'd actually done that. And there's no excusing it, but there was a lot of aspects as to how it happened and why it happened.
The complex case court is where individuals with an identified vulnerability are sent to have their cases tried. So it could be somebody with drug and alcohol problems, somebody with a severe and enduring mental illness.
In Sefton, we run a mental health treatment requirement as part of a community order. People sentenced to MHTR will work with their probation officer and see their assistant psychologist for a series of one-to-one therapeutic interventions.
Cases before the court that day are screened by the probation representative in court and by Merseycare practitioners to see if defendants are known to or open to services. This knowledge is essential in planning the court list, enabling cases which could result in treatment requirements to be interviewed by probation at an early stage, and allowing liaison with an assistant psychologist on the day so that sentence can take place as soon as possible.
Part of my job as a probation officer based in the court is I complete pre-sentence reports on anybody that is due for sentence, and we'll identify any specific cases that we think will need a pre-sentence report and the involvement from either drug services or mental health or alcohol services.
ATRs and DRRs are supervised by probation officers, and individuals will work with their officer to focus on techniques and ways to live a healthier, more controlled lifestyle. This will involve spending time with key workers from some of our partner agencies who are skilled in substance misuse.
The main aim of my role is to support the service users in addressing their substance misuse and hopefully becoming drug or alcohol free and therefore living a healthier life. After each contact with a service user on an ATR or DRR, I will write a report to probation so that they're up to date with the service user and where they're up to in regards to treatment. As well as probation, we work with other agencies. These include housing support, mental health services, GPs, education training providers, police and additional support services where required.
As a judge, when you're sentencing somebody for an offence, you want to have realistic viable sentencing options. But some people can realistically work towards rehabilitation.
Rather than sending people to prison, short-term sentences don't help anyone at all. And often when people come out of prison having received a short sentence, I think a huge proportion of them go back to reoffending.
If I'd gone to prison, I don't see how that would have been beneficial. It would have made me scared me, but I'd have still had those problems. And like everybody knows, when you go to prison, drugs are readily available, and it could have been a worst case scenario for me. Whatever punishment I would have got, I'd have accepted and I'd have understood, but I really do think that there are other options.
So from when a service user is allocated to me, sentenced to a mental health treatment requirement, first thing I'll do is liaise with the clinical lead. And this is to inquire if the service user has been allocated a psychologist yet, or is in the process of being so. I also attend the Women's Review Court and act as the representative for our organisation. There's a lot of service users associate going to court, which is where the reviews are held, with a negative experience from when they were sentenced. And the purpose of the review court is to obviously assess their progress throughout the order, but also gives the service user a chance to discuss with the judge in a much less formal setting of what's working for them and what isn't working for them. And because they see the progress they make throughout the community orders or suspended sentence orders, increasing the chance of them being given a community-based penalty and not a custodial sentence.
The ideal is that following a guilty plea, or if there's been a finding of guilt, that reports are prepared by probation and, if necessary, by the mental health team on that day.
The beauty of that courtroom is, if my client has, for instance, maybe an undiagnosed mental health problem, straight away I can have them spoken to by an expert who will give me, within a very short period of time, a pretty good diagnosis of what that person's problems may be.
The court may decide to impose a mental health treatment requirement with a drugs or an alcohol condition as well.
These orders aren't soft options, a lot is expected, and there would need to be a recommendation for such an order. If somebody is not interested in tackling an issue, then there's no point in imposing such a demanding order on them.
There was like an hour recess, like it was adjourned, where I could go and speak to the mental health team, who then put a report in from the things I told them over the phone. And that's why she said, you would have got a 20-week sentence, but it'll be suspended for a year, but you've got to meet these requirements. And like I said, I was happy to meet them requirements because it was something I was trying to source myself.
As a senior leader, I want to say how impressed I am with the Community Sentence Treatment Requirement Programme. What's really important is that this is about reducing reoffending, so the impact on the person themselves, but also on the community. So I think that means it's good value for money. And I think the reason that it works so well in Sefton is absolutely down to the strong partnerships that we have, and that cuts across, from sentences, from health, probation, substance misuse providers and other services. Just to say, finally, that's why it attracts attention nationally from ministers, and we've hosted so many visitors, and every single one has been impressed by the impact of this programme.
The court understand that some people need that extra support going through the system, and it makes it a fairer process for people who are vulnerable. And so for the police, it's absolutely vital that we get justice, but also that justice is fair.
And if we look at it in the long term rather than the short term, it hits all the right notes. We've been tough on this person, we've sent them to prison, but they'll be reoffending in a very short period of time. You work with them, you sort out that plan, and yes, it might cost more in the short term, but the saving in the long term is huge for everybody, including the great British taxpayer.
So once we understand what's contributed to someone's reoffending, then we can target the underlying causes of what's got them to this point in their life. And this is what the Community Sentencing Treatment Requirement provides. A space for them to understand and make sense of some of those experiences, and also help them to lead healthier and safer lives.
The judges are very good at judging a situation and judging a person, and that's why I think they will know what person this is going to benefit to. But it sounds a bit extreme, but probably has kind of been life-changing to me.